What happened? There we go. All right. I think we are live now. I am on a new platform here, so I am assuming since it says live, that means that you can see me, and I hope you can. So if you can. I think we are live
What
now.
happened here?
I am on a new platform here, so I am assuming since it says live. Oh, wait, hold on. That means that you can see. As you can tell. Take two. All right, awesome. Okay, there's everyone. I can see them jumping in. Hi, guys. Hi, everyone. Welcome to My Baby Experts. I'm Sherry Creso, and it is Tuesday night, and we are here for another amazing episode. Everybody's jumping in. Hey, guys. Yeah, did you hear me recording there? I forgot that I had Facebook open, so I was watching myself as I was speaking. I thought, oh, who is that? I hear an echo. Anyway, so happy to be back with you guys. We had a wonderful show last night with Jamie Grayson on the Baby Guy NYC, and tonight we will not disappoint. Another amazing, amazing show with my dear, dear friend and amazing sleep expert, Rebecca Mickey, who is sitting right here. I have to get good at my Vanna White here. Sitting right good here. It's opposite. And so tonight we have a fantastic show, and our partners are Love to Dream, and I see them here in the chat room. Hi, ladies. Hi, everyone. So happy to have you back with us. So tonight's episode is called Safer Sleep. And I cannot think of, there's not too many more important things for us to talk about than how to keep your children and your baby safe, and especially while they're asleep. So we're kind of ending Baby Safety Month, which this is September Baby Safety Month. So we're kind of rounding out the month tonight with an important topic of safe sleep. So everyone's jumping on. Let's give it a moment here for everybody to keep coming in here. This is actually episode number 124 of the My Baby Expert Show. So I'd love to get some hearts going across the screen, and let's get a hashtag 124. I hear an echo. What is that? We've had. Ooh. Okay. Not good. Okay. Did it go away?
It's gone. I don't hear it.
I still hear an echo. We've had the worst. Okay, it's gone now. We've had like these crazy audio problems for the last 24 hours. I don't even know. Yesterday, it was horrendous where I couldn't even see. Jamie was speaking, and I was like, okay, I can't even look at you because it was so off. And so tonight, here we, oh yeah, okay. So tonight, hopefully it's going to work, all right, so we can get through this. But hi, yes, oh my goodness, we've got people from everywhere. And okay, hi Natasha from Nova Scotia, amazing, yay. We have moms from all over the world joining us. And I always say this is the one place, or talking about these topics is the one way that we can all come together, regardless of where we live in the world, regardless of our cultures, regardless of our religions, regardless of anything else. It's the one thing we share in common is our children and our babies, and as mothers and as fathers. And so it's so exciting to just see people and moms and dads from all over the world joining us for these live streams and learning right alongside. And it's like there are no borders when we do the My Baby Expert Show, and I love it. And we're about to hit 100,000 followers. I think we're at 97,000 followers. So I'm super excited about that. We're going to have to plan a party for the 100,000 mark, because that's a milestone that I am blown away by. So I'm blown away, and it just means that we have this amazing community. So let me stop talking for 1 second and let Rebecca introduce herself. Hi, Rebecca. Welcome back to the show with us.
Thanks, Shari. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great tonight. I love doing these shows with you, Rebecca. Our topics together are just so important, and you just are such a wealth of knowledge and information for all the moms. So thanks for being here again.
You're welcome. It's always fun.
Will you just give us a little bit of your background, introduce yourself, and tell us about what you do?
Yep. So I'm Rebecca Mickey, children's sleep consultant and author. I am based in Seattle, though I'm obviously not from the Seattle area, and just a little further away. I grew up in the UK, and I got my degree in child development there. Moved around an awful lot and ended up in Seattle about 10 years ago. I started up my business as a children's sleep consultant about 7 years ago, 8 years ago. And I am a gentle, no cry sleep consultant. I don't advise families to leave their children to cry it out. There's much more hands-on, gentle techniques that I use if, in fact, we do need to do any sleep training at all. There's a lot we can do to get better sleep without doing any of the big scary stuff. And so that's kind of what I like to look at is it's not my way or the highway or you've got to sleep train. There's a lot we can do. We're not necessarily after perfection. We're after kind of good enough. And as well as looking at what's normal. Yeah, children wake, humans wake during the night. And so I like to sort of be working and helping families figure out what's normal and the best way that we can get the best possible night's sleep.
Oh, so great. So great. And we do have a link for Rebecca. So Joe can go ahead and put up a link for Rebecca's website and for her membership site and for her course. And it's just fantastic. So everybody follow Rebecca. I tagged her here in the post. So afterwards, don't leave now, but afterwards, I want you all to go follow Rebecca too on Facebook. And we're going to be doing a lot more work together. So I'm very excited for what's coming. First of all, I'm going to test out the skills here, okay, because I'm playing on this. I can't help but play. So I'm going to pop up there we go. Okay, so we have Love to Dream here, and they're tuning in from the head office in Sydney, Australia. Yay, welcome. So happy to have you here. So we've got them all the way from Australia. So see how cool this is? We can put their little logo up here and everything. It's fantastic. I love it. Okay, so welcome, ladies. Okay, so speaking of Love to Dream, we do have a prize for tonight, and the prize is going to be, there's going to be actually 2 winners, and you get to choose between the Swaddle Up and the 50-50. And if you want to see what they look like, I have them right here. This is the 50-50. I've got my babies here. All my babies around me. I wish they were real. Oh, we've got a Swaddle Up, and we've also got a 50-50. In a few minutes, I'm going to show you a video that's going to show you all about the amazing Love to Dream products. And just, you know, there's swaddling products, swaddling blankets that you can use from newborn all the way up to 3-4 years old. And it really is, we're going to talk about swaddling in a little while, but the safety of these products and how you can really make your child much safer by using the right thing. And this is just a genius product. So 2 people are going to win. The way that you enter to win tonight is the way you always enter, which is to like or love this post, comment here, tell me what you absolutely love about the Love to Dream products and why you would like one and why you would need one. You comment during the stream at any time, and then register. Okay, you need to register. There's a link in the post. Many of you have already done that. It's the same link that you registered to get your reminder email this morning, but that is how we actually pick the winner too. And so it's one of the requirements you need to register. Joe will go ahead and post that up as well. All right, so that is, and I think I actually created a new post. Let me see here, hold on. I think I created a new tag for that. Let's see, is it here? No, okay. Joe can post that. I think I sent it to you, Joe, to register. All right, so let's just talk right now. Let's get right into the topic. Let's talk about the topic is safer sleep, okay? And that's really what we're talking about tonight. And you know, before we even talk about what to do, let's talk about the reason why we're having this conversation. And really, the whole point here is that, you know, in the U.S. every year, over 3,000 babies will die of SIDS or sudden unexpected infant death, which is really not SIDS. It's actually caused by suffocation and accidents, okay, or strangulation. And so it's really important to understand the difference between those two, that not all sudden unexplained infant death are a result of SIDS, which is sudden infant death syndrome. it can come, much of it comes from accidental death. And that happens very often when the child is asleep or in a sleeping environment. And it's the whole reason that we're doing this show, the whole reason that we're talking about this product, the whole reason that we're, having this conversation is because your child is going to spend so much of its life, especially in that first year, sleeping. And it's up to you as the parent to create that safe sleep environment for them. And what it takes to create a safe sleep environment is there's many different parts to it. And so that's what we're going to go over tonight. Some of it you may already know. Some of it may be a little bit more of a surprise, like, oh, I didn't know that. But whatever it is, there's nothing better that we can do than to review these things, because you're going to be doing it every day if you're not doing it already. So that being said, let's talk first, Rebecca, about, just right from birth, okay? The idea of skin to skin, breastfeeding.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, really, really important that as quickly as you possibly can, you get that skin to skin, and you continue to do it. It's not something that you just should be doing in the first hours after birth. It's something that you can be doing for weeks and weeks and weeks, and even people are doing it when their children are months and months and even years and years old. There's no really real age that you need to stop this. And so, yes, it's really, really important. Not only is it super important for attachment, for breastfeeding, but yes, it's really, really important. It's nice. One thing, it's lovely. It really is lovely. Who doesn't like that, being snuggled with their newborn skin to skin? And skin to skin can sound a little bit terrifying, because you may be thinking, no diaper. It's not that at all. You can certainly have a diaper, but just that the child should have just minimal clothing on, and you can put them in your shirt, something like that, so that they're keeping warm. But yeah, this skin to skin certainly does help with so many things in those first few weeks, hours, months after birth.
Yeah, absolutely. And like she said, there's just so many parts to their physiology, from helping their respirations to not overcooling a baby, because we're going to talk about later about heating and cooling. Both are not okay. And so the baby needs to stay warm. There's no better place to keep your baby warm than against your skin, especially in those first hours, and then for those first few weeks, especially as the baby's learning how to regulate its own temperature. Also, breastfeeding. So it kind of goes hand in hand. We do know from studies that there is a reduced incidence of SIDS from breastfeeding, and they don't know exactly the mechanism, but some of it has to do with the fact that the baby is regulating their respiratory, the way that they breathe, based on the mother's breathing. Okay, so they do kind of sync and cycle together when they're breastfeeding and when they're sleeping together as well. But it also has to do with the milk itself. So there are components in the milk that help to develop, and without going too technical, that help to develop the myelin sheaths within the nervous system to help with the respiratory centers. And so they do feel like there are links to that to reduce the incidence of SIDS as well. And babies who are breastfed, they rouse quicker. They don't get into such deep sleeps. We actually want babies, and this is something that moms will say all the time, is that my baby's awake frequently, or they don't get into that deep sleep. But actually, that's what we want. We don't want them to go into these deep coma-like sleeps that happen with overfeeding, or happen when the milk is not digested quickly. Okay, so breastfed babies do digest quickly, and because of that, they rouse easier, and there is a reduced incidence of SIDS. So that being said, like we want to create the context of what we're talking about tonight, so that we can go into the rest of it now, of what you're going to do to put in place in your baby's nursery, or in your room, or in their sleep environment. Does that make sense to everyone? Let's get some hearts. I hear a little echo, but we're going to ignore it tonight and just keep going. Let's get some hearts going across the screen. Yes. Okay. Awesome. And Rebecca, let's talk about the one thing that most people know about when it comes to safe sleep, or the number one thing that we always hear, which is sleeping your baby on their back.
Yeah, so we do want to put our children down on their back. Now, this wasn't always the advice. And when we were kids, we were probably, our parents were probably advised to put us down on our fronts.
Yes.
because then we wouldn't suffocate on vomit. And so things have really changed. But the Back to Sleep campaign came in, gosh, it must be 20 something years ago. And it has really, really reduced the SIDS rate really dramatically.
Yeah.
And it's the one single thing that has happened that has had such a huge impact on the rate of SIDS. So we do want to place our children down on their backs, not on their side, because they have then a tendency to roll onto their front.
Yes.
So we do want to be placing them on their back on a firm surface.
Yes. And you know, the thing with the whole side sleeping is that it's about them rolling.
Yeah.
You know, we really want them to not roll face forward into the mattress. And
Yeah.
you know, but that can change as they can start to roll themselves. So let's talk a
Completely.
little bit about that, because I have moms who say, you know, my baby's rolling, I put them on their back and they roll onto, and then I'm waking up and turning them over. Not necessary.
No, not at all. Once they're rolling onto their tummies, they are fine to sleep there.
Yeah.
Rolling on to their back to tummy normally comes after tummy to back. And so that does mean that they are, once they're able to get onto their tummy, more often than not, they're able to get onto their back when they need to. Do not think that you have to roll your child over, because just think they may be tummy sleepers. They may be more comfortable sleeping on their tummy.
Yeah.
And honestly, you will spend the whole night awake completely rolling them over all the time.
Right.
Because they just want to sleep on their tummy. And so they're naturally rolling there and you're rolling them back. So once they can get there, they're completely fine to sleep there.
Yeah. Amy in the chat room is asking, here, you know what? I'm going to actually pop it up because I can.
Ooh, fancy.
Say, I can find it. Can you guys hear an echo?
I cannot hear an echo.
All right. I hear an echo. It's just me, right?
Just you.
All right. Well, I can't find it here to pop it up. But Amy asked the question, what if you use the safe sleeper side wedge? And, you know,
no, not advised, because now we're bringing extra things into the crib. So it's keeping them there, but they can get kind of stuck. They can roll over it and then they can get stuck, and then they are just kind of stranded there. So no, that's why we don't want to be using that wedge, because we're then bringing extra things into the sleep space, and we want to be avoiding anything in the sleep space. We want to just have the mattress and a well-fitted sheet. We don't want to be having any blankets or pillows or bumpers or sheets. We don't want anything.
Yeah.
We just want to have just that, the baby mattress and sheet.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Great. Okay. Great question, Amy. Fantastic. I actually want to show a little video before we keep going, because I think so much of this video, this is a Love to Dream video, but it actually shows so much of what we're talking about here. And even discussing this idea of sleeping them on their backs, and then what to do if they're rolling over, because of the, you know, there's a 50-50, which means that you're releasing their arms. And it's really important to understand that about your child, that when your child is able to actually roll, you want them to have their arms available so that they can pull themselves back, so they can lift themselves up, so that they can move and not be stuck in a position. So I'm going to go ahead and share the video. Everybody bear with me tonight. And let me see if I can do this. All right. All right. I think I got it. Hold on. Hold on. All right. I think that was it, right? Yeah. Okay. Hold on a second. I'm trying here. I'm trying. Okay, I did it. Yay! That's an awesome video. Okay, so it showed you so much there. Okay, just so educational, and at the same time, just showing you all the different products from Love to Dream. So now you guys know why you want one. I hope you can see that with these amazing features on it, where it actually allows your baby to be with their hands up. And this is the only swaddle that allows the baby to have their arms up, the swaddle up. And, you know, as we talk about having them on their backs, it's another feature that really helps them to stay on their backs because their arms are here. So they're really not going to be able to roll. And when they do, and they're able to roll, you've got the 50-50, which you all saw that you zip off, and now their arms are free. So it transitions. And so fantastic. Love it. Love it. Okay, let's move on to the next topic, and that is, let's see, a firm sleep surface, Rebecca.
Yep. Yes. So the surface that your child is sleeping on does need to be firm. And you know, if you're looking at bassinets or you're looking at cribs, and you're looking at the mattress, generally these mattresses are really quite firm, and they do need to be because they do risk, the really squishy mattresses are a suffocation risk. So the mattress does need to be firm. And though I know we are going to be talking a little bit about bed sharing a little bit later, that's when things get a little bit tricky, because then if your child is in your bed, I can guarantee your mattress is far more soft than a crib mattress would be. But we do need that mattress to be firm, especially for the first few months. Definitely.
And there are mattresses out there that are made for toddlers and infants, and some of them have what they call like a two-side or a two-stage. And the difference between that is you really want to make sure that your infant is sleeping on the hard, firm surface. And then they do make ones where you can turn them over and they have a little bit of a softer, more cushiony feel to them as your child starts to get older. But you're not using that with a newborn.
No, you're not. You would transition from that from about 10, 12 months of age. You would transition to that softer side. They don't need it to be, don't think about what your comfort would be. You weigh way more than your child, way more. And weight really does play a huge big part in that, into when they're going to start feeling uncomfortable on that really firm surface. They're going to be absolutely fine up until that's 10, 12 months of age on that firmer surface, and don't have to worry about them thinking it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We can't really compare our children's comfort really too much in many ways to our own. And this is like when we talk about rear facing car seats and children, oh, their legs are going to get crampy. Children can be in positions and can sleep on surfaces that a normal adult would not be comfortable on, like you said. But
Yeah.
for the child, it's really important for an infant, or a baby, it's really important that they do. And then nothing else should be in the crib as well.
No, no bumpers, no pillows, no blankets, no soft stuffed
Yep.
animals, nothing.
Yep. All right. Let's talk about room sharing.
Yeah.
Okay. And room sharing, let's talk about the recommendations as far as room sharing.
So the American Academy of Pediatrics does suggest sharing a room with your child for the first 6 to 12 months. So that is actually quite a long time. And the reason is that it reduces the risk of SIDS to do so. So that means that they are going to be in the room with you. Now, the reason that this reduces the risk of SIDS, you were earlier talking about where a breastfeeding mother, how the breathing will go in sync and the heart rate will go in sync. And this is what happens when you are sleeping close to your child. And generally when we're room sharing, we'll have maybe a co-sleeper next to the bed or a bassinet next to the bed. The reason that this reduces the risk of SIDS is because you disturb each other when you sleep. And so then when you're disturbing each other, the reason that reduces the risk of SIDS is because you're waking each other up. And so what happens is, because you're now in sync with your child will start coming into a light sleep and you'll do the same. And so you're both, when we're in that light sleep, we're moving around a lot more. And so you'll be moving around. That's going to make your child come into a lighter sleep, which is going to make you come into a light sleep. Because remember, you have the whole mum thing going on now. And that means that you wake like that. The slightest movement or noise, boom, that's it, you're wide awake. And so this can sort of be, bringing then your child into that light to sleep. And so that, again, is that with the breastfeeding, yes, it does mean that you are feeding more often, but that really reduces the risk of SIDS. Room sharing, it does mean that you're going to be kind of disturbing each other more often, not necessarily mean full wake-ups, but disturbing each other a little more often, but it reduces the risk of SIDS, which is why it's really worth doing.
You're more aware. You're aware of each other. They're aware of you. You're aware of them. It's like you're coexisting. Even at night when you're sleeping, you're connected in the same way as you are any other time. And I'll tell you, it's really important, especially if you're planning not to breastfeed. And I'm going to bring this up because lots of times, most breastfeeding moms I talk to will decide they're going to room share anyway. It's just easier. I'm going to be nursing. They're going to be waking a lot. But then you can have a child that's not breastfed and they may be sleeping longer at night. It does, they tend to sleep more because of the milk. Like I said, the formula can it's slower digested, so it's digested slower, so they can sleep longer. But the thing is with that is that you don't want to take that as an opportunity to then put them down the hall and formula feed them. Now you've just given them two risk factors where you really don't want to do that. Those babies need to be close as well. So we're talking whether you're breastfeeding or formula feeding or bottle feeding or combination feeding, the child needs to be in your room. Those recommendations go for everyone.
Totally. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And it does, even if you're formula feeding or you're breastfeeding, it still makes it easier, regardless of how you're feeding. It does. It just makes it easier because it means that you're there instantly seeing whether your child is needing help or not. Because there's very much difference between, they're actually still asleep.
Yes.
And just moving around, wiggling around, grunting, burping, farting, all of these things. You don't need to be helping at that point because they're actually still asleep.
Right.
Whereas if you were hearing that on the monitor or something, you'd probably go. And then, though you're still awake, you're still laying down and you're still in bed and they're okay.
Yes.
So, yeah, room sharing, I think, is really, really important and this, the suggestion is for the first 6 to 12 months. They've just changed that. It was originally for 6 months.
Right.
But they've just changed it between 6 and 12 months.
Yeah. And if they're making those recommendations because we're seeing that it's making a difference. And beyond that, babies were meant to sleep. Babies were not meant to be. I always talk about, cavemen didn't have their babies in another cave somewhere.
No, they didn't have cave complexes where there was this is mum and dad's room, this is aunt's room. They all huddled in together for the warmth. Exactly. They were all huddling in together. Exactly. And yes, when you think as well about animals, how that we are mammals, and the way that mammals sleep with their young is close so that they can be feeding all through the night, because it happens whether you're breastfeeding or bottle feeding, you're feeding all through the night. Exactly. And so to be close, being that close, makes it so much easier for you to do. Definitely.
Okay, fantastic. And when we talk about room sharing, there's many ways that you can do that. And so there's the idea of bringing a crib, the full crib, which I did have at a certain point, the whole crib right in my bedroom. Yeah. There's cribs, there's co-sleepers, and then there's also moms who do set up their beds to share as well.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a minute, because although the recommendations are not to bed share, okay, I'm going to just say it right now, is that moms do it anyway. And I think that assuming to just give a recommendation of don't share your bed, and then don't say anything about it of how to be safer with it if it happens. Or, you're not planning to bed share, but you're nursing all night, you fall asleep, you need to take those precautions beforehand, so that if it did happen where you fell asleep with the baby, or the baby was sleeping in the bed with you, that your bed is set up in a way to not create a dangerous situation.
Yeah, that you're safe. Yeah. And the great news is the American Academy of Pediatrics are now beginning to recognize that people do end up bed sharing, and they are advising families on how to do it safely if it ends up happening. Yeah. They are still advising that you room share, not bed share, but they're beginning to see that, yes, people do end up bed sharing, because sleep deprivation is torturous. Yeah. It really, really is. And most people who I speak to, and I speak to a lot of people about sleep, most people, they say that they had no intention of bed sharing. They had no intention when they were pregnant or when they had a newborn. It just, as I say, sleep deprivation is torturous. It is used as a form of torture. And so when you have a baby, you can really, really see why. And sleep is one of these basic human needs that we have, the same way that food and drink are. This is a basic human need. And so we do things that, yes, you may fall asleep feeding. So luckily now, yes, the American Academy of Pediatrics are suggesting ways that you can do this safely. So even if you have no desire to bed share whatsoever, if the space is safe, and it does happen just either out of sheer exhaustion or you accidentally fall asleep, that at least the space is safe there and then, and you're not having to make any changes. Now, these are not huge, big changes that you would need to make anyway. It's actually pretty simple to make your bed safe. But I always suggest that families just have that ready from even before their baby is born, that the bed is ready for if a baby was born there and then, that your baby would be okay, and you're really sort of reducing the risk of one, of SIDS, and two, of suffocation.
Yeah. Some of those things that you want to do is make sure that the sheets are tight fitting. There's no loose bedding, that the pillows are away from where the baby is. Those are the things that the baby that's where the hazards will occur, is the suffocation of a pillow or a comforter going up over the baby, or making sure that there's the baby's not going to fall off of the bed.
Yeah. Yeah. So having the bed, either taking the mattress and having that on the floor, that's what a lot of people do, or having a bed rail that you can buy. A lot of the people will buy that for a toddler when they have a toddler, so a toddler doesn't fall out, or moving the bed up against a wall, making sure there is no gap, because babies are tiny. They are really, really tiny, and they are very wiggly. Yeah. And so they can get into like the headboard. There shouldn't be any gap between the end of the mattress and the headboard. You need to make sure that if you have long hair, that's tied out of the way, because even that could be a strangulation risk. If you have any ties on what you're wearing to bed, though generally pajamas and things don't. But again, we're dealing with this super exhaustion. If you have a sweatshirt on that has a hood, you're going to have the long ties. Making sure that you just take those out, or changing before you possibly could be falling asleep. Yes. A lot of people used to think as well that because it was totally against bed sharing, we're not to do this, they would then end up feeding on the couch. or feeding in a recliner and falling asleep there. And that is even more dangerous, falling asleep on a couch, because if you're sat up feeding, there is so many places your child could fall, and there are so many parts that you're on that couch that your child can get squished into. And say they're super wiggly, and they're going to be comfortable. They may have, rolled off you and rolled onto the couch. They're super comfortable. They're not necessarily going to wake. It's not as if they're falling on the floor, but then they can wiggle in between those cushions, in between the back. And so it actually is safer to bring your child into bed with you, into a safe environment, than feed them on a recliner or couch or a chair, that's where, unfortunately, a lot of accidents do happen.
And it's such a good point, because I think that even if that's not your plan, and you have say you have a co-sleeper, or you have a crib in the room, and your plan is to have the baby sleeping in the co-sleeper, by getting up to go onto the sofa or onto an armchair, or even a lighter or a rocking chair in the middle of the night, or into the bed when you're thinking, I'm not going to sleep with the baby in the bed, and not having that thought going into it, so that just in case it happens and you're so tired and you fall asleep, everything's set up. That's where accidents actually happen. And it's most of the time, it's the parents that say, I will never mess with my baby.
Yeah.
As I say, very few on the couch, and
very few people have that, actually think that they're going to bed share from either being pregnant. And oftentimes it's them with subsequent children, because they ended up doing it with their first, that they then kind of will plan a little differently for their second. Yeah. But most people who end up bed sharing, and I speak with a lot of people who do end up bed sharing, they had no intention of doing so. It's just as in those early days and months of continuously waking up. And as I say, sleep deprivation is used as a form of torture, because it is so effective. Mm-hmm. It is so effective. Remember when you remember back to those early days of a newborn. Yeah. I mean, though having a baby is wonderful. Yeah.
I was sleep deprived. I can't remember.
I think it's just a way that I think that's the way the human race is still around. Because I think if you remembered, you'd have no more kids ever. There's no way I'm having any more children after going through that once. I think we do. We kind of block that out, because it is. Yeah. I think back to how tired I was, and I could fall asleep absolutely anywhere. Mm-hmm. Literally, I had a neck massager, and I remember, and it was really, and I remember falling asleep on that, laying on my bed. Yeah. I mean, how the heck? I was so tired. Yeah. You can just fall asleep doing anything. Yeah. And so you just want to make sure that the space is safe, even if you have no intention. And then at least if it does happen, it's safe.
I'm going to share that happened to me. With my first, she's almost 16 years old. And with my first, I had no intention of bed sharing at all. I had a co-sleeper, which is like a bassinet that pushes up against the bed so that I could roll over, I could see her, I could touch her. And so my intention was to nurse her and put her back into her co-sleeper every time I nursed. And I don't even remember. All I remember was waking up and the baby was like under the blanket with me. And just feeling her moving and going, oh my God, and I'm panicking and thinking, this was a perfect example. I don't even remember picking her up. I don't remember nursing her. I don't remember any of it. And there she was. So obviously I did. And that was, thank God, it didn't end in a tragedy as it could have. But that's just an example. I mean, it can happen to us if we're not prepared. And that was the last night that I had blankets and pillows and all the other things, because I knew that could happen again. I had no idea that I had done. Yeah. So, you learn from other people who've made those mistakes, and you don't want to learn from your own tragedy. So good points here. I hope everybody can see that. And I saw Terry made a comment here. I'm going to post it up here. Terry said she got a baby box. It's free in New Jersey. And so baby boxes are great. They give them out at certain hospitals in New Jersey. Mm-hmm. They're sort of a box that can go in the bed between you or, on the side of you. And that way the baby goes into the box.
Yeah, exactly. And they have a mattress in there. They can go on the floor. It's just, when you think about it, it's just like, back in the day when we were little, people were putting babies in drawers to sleep. You know, if you don't need a crib, you just put them in a drawer and they're completely fine.
Exactly. There's very little that you actually need, except a love to dream swaddle up. You need that.
Oh, definitely. You know, and another reason that you need the swaddle up is because I have worked with hundreds and hundreds of families, and the transitioning out of the swaddle is such a big deal.
Yeah.
And I have found over doing this for so many years that children who are swaddled with their arms up or to their chest have a much easier time transitioning out
Yes.
than those who are swaddled with their arms pinned down to their sides, because suddenly they have movement. There's no gentle way of getting out of pinned down to the sides. When
Yes.
they're up, they have the movement, and you're just then giving them more movement.
Yep.
And so it's so much easier to do. So which is another reason why I always advise families from that pregnancy to have the Love to Dream, because one, the sizes, they're super safe, they're completely foolproof. You remember as a new mom trying to figure out the swaddle, it was just like I watched YouTube video after YouTube video after YouTube video trying to figure this out, and it just was just the worst thing ever.
Absolutely.
And they're so easy to use, but we kind of do whatever we need to do, but then it can be, as you can get that challenge as it comes to moving on, when you need to transition. I've worked with families who are still swaddling their 9 and 10-month-old because they're too scared to get out. They're really struggling to get out of the swaddle. This makes life so much easier for you. And life's hard enough when you have a baby. You want it to be easy. Make the things easy that can be easy.
That's for sure. That's for sure. And back to what you were saying, you know, of having the baby in the room with you too, with room sharing. You know, when the baby can bring its hands to midline, when they can touch their face and suck on their hands, they can self-soothe. So although you're disturbing each other, the baby will have a better chance with the ability to bring their hands together and bring their hands to their face to soothe themselves back to sleep. And they will start to develop that skill. It does take a few weeks or a few months, and they do start to be able to self-soothe, but they need their hands in order to do that. So
they do, yeah. And it's not something that they can instantly do. So
no.
they do learn to do that. And so giving them a little bit of an opportunity. So, you know, whenever they wake up, they don't instantly need help. If it's that urgent cry, I call it the mummy, I need you now cry. Yeah, you know that cry, that's when they need help. But if it's that just grunty, moany, just noisy, then they're not necessarily asking for help at that point. And so you can give them that opportunity to see if they can get themselves to sleep, because you never know. They may be able to do it. It may take them 20 minutes to do so. But as there's practice. Practice makes perfect. Every time they get to practice this, it will get quicker and quicker and quicker until the point where they just come into a light sleep, get their hands into their mouth, get comfortable, and they're back to sleep without even fully waking.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk a little bit, well, as we're talking about the Love to Dream swaddle blanket, there's also the idea of having other objects on the bed, because that kind of brings us to, what about when you talked about like watching YouTube videos on how to swaddle a baby with a big blanket. I find that to be a dangerous situation. Most parents don't know exactly how to swaddle properly, and even if they do, babies are like things that can get out. So by putting large, and some of them are so large, they're wrapped around the baby several times, and they can pull it up over their faces and their heads. It can be definitely a risk. So we don't want to have anything in the bed, like we said, no stuffed animals, no soft toys, no blankets, no pillows, nothing, including bumpers. Now they're even saying not even like the safe, what they consider the safe bumpers, no bumpers are in the bed.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah, because if you're wrapping up in this huge big sheet or blanket, there's a couple of things that happen. One is it's going to get loose, is because your children are super wiggly, as you know, they really move around. So they can get, it's going to come loose. So it comes loose, then this is huge big sheet blanket in the crib, which is unsafe. But as well, you've got to think, we were really wrapping them up that way. They have an opportunity to overheat. And I know we're going to be talking about that in a moment.
Yes.
We don't want to have any bumpers. Bumpers are, again, that suffocation risk going into rolling into the side and getting kind of stuck there. So we don't want to have bumpers. Children may roll into the side, into the slats of the crib. They may do that, but they're not going to do it hard enough to hurt themselves.
Right. Right.
And when it gets tricky is if you're getting a limb stuck through. And it's the only reason it's tricky is because they're stuck and you've got to go in and help them out. So if they're swaddled or if they're in a sleep sack, their legs are not getting through. So
Right.
you're fine that way.
Need it.
Arms may do, but it won't take too many times of that happening before they kind of figure out, let's not stick that arm through the rail there. So you don't really necessarily need bumpers, whether it's the breathable ones or the big, thick padded ones.
Yeah.
We don't want to have any loveys or stuffed animals or anything like that in there either, because again, the suffocation risk. Your child is able to move around, they're doing all this wiggling, they can get into their face stuck into something that's in the crib, and then that's a suffocation risk. So with the Love to Dream swaddle, you've not got all this loads and loads of fabric. There's not all this huge big fabric. The sizes are, and it's so stretchy. There's not huge amounts of fabric, but you've got the right size for your child. They're able to move around, whether they're in the 50-50, whether they're in the sleep sack. They're able to move around. They're able to get comfortable, and they're able to sleep.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. What about pacifiers? Because they do talk about using pacifiers during sleep, during nap time and sleep time, to help reduce the risk of SIDS and help them sleep safer. I'll just say one thing about pacifiers and breastfeeding is that babies can both breastfeed and use a pacifier and do perfectly fine. What I usually recommend is waiting a good, 2 to 3 weeks. Let breastfeeding really become established. Let your milk come in. Make sure that everything's fine, that you're not having any breastfeeding issues, latch issues, or anything like that before you introduce the pacifier, because they will suck on the pacifier differently than when they suck on the breast. And you'll see that happen when you start introducing it and they keep spitting it out. And you're thinking, why do they keep spitting it out? They hate it. And the truth is, they don't hate it. They're just trying to suck on it the same way they suck at the breast. And when a baby sucks at the breast, the tongue is down and protruding. And so they kind of do that motion when they suck at the breast, and they try to do the same thing with the pacifier, and it keeps popping out. There's a way to help them and to retrain them to suck on the pacifier differently than they would at the breast. And you're going to need to do that because you'll see it keeps popping out. But how does it fit in here with our conversation as far as safety?
Yeah, it reduces the risk of SIDS, and again, it's because it doesn't let the child get into that super deep sleep, because they need it more for sleeping. So again, that's why it reduces the risk of SIDS, because they rouse to that more awake more often. Yeah. And you may think that, hang on, that's the exact opposite of what I want. I don't actually want them waking up right now. I want them to be sleeping. Right. But again, it reduces the risk of SIDS. I mean, nobody has a baby thinking that they're going to be sleeping through the night instantly. And so them waking is completely normal. It is completely normal. Humans wake, all of us, between 2 and 6 times a night. Nobody on the planet sleeps through the night, let alone babies. And so that's not actually our aim. So them rousing into that lighter sleep does reduce the risk of SIDS. And so again, it's, some children just won't take one whatsoever, and that's fine. Yeah. But again, you want to look at what all of these recommendations are, and there's some which are going to be not possible. Maybe you were unable to breastfeed, or maybe you are just really not able to safely room share. Yeah. You can sort of, as long as you're sort of you're looking and making your best informed decision as to what's right for you there, and doing everything you possibly can to reduce the risk of SIDS, then you can't go wrong.
Yeah. I always like to say that anyone who's here watching right now is doing a good job already. The fact that you're even here, part of this conversation, you could be doing a lot of other things right now, and you're here with us learning. And because of that, you are aware and you're conscious. And those are the most important things, I think, to keep your children safe and healthy. The best thing you do is just stay conscious and aware and eager to learn and know what's next. And so you're doing that right now. So I'm proud of all of you. And then one more thing, if the baby's pacifier falls out, you don't have to keep putting it back in either.
No, not at all.
Because you will have moms who will just stay awake watching to see.
Yeah, exactly. So if they do spit it out, it may be because they don't want it at that time. Yeah. So if they spit it out, that's fine. Let them spit it out.
Let's talk about overheating. And
Mm-hmm.
how, like, so what temperature should we keep the nursery?
Between 65 and 68.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually pretty cool for families in the US. And especially if you live somewhere unbelievably crazy hot, and then trying to keep your bedroom at 65 to 68 may mean that you need to remortgage your house every summer to just pay your electricity bill to have the air conditioning to that. And so I understand that that may be completely unattainable. I live in Seattle. It's no problem at all keeping my bedroom between 60
Right.
between 65 and 68, no problem at all. But I understand if you live sort of some places where you do need air conditioning. I don't need air conditioning, that's going to be tricky. And so you can dress your child accordingly. And so if it is cooler, you can put extra layers on. Now, you do want to have kind of breathable layers. You want to be having as many natural fabrics, cotton, as you possibly can, because this will actually help with the regulated temperature. If you want to check what your child's temperature is, check their chest. So put your fingers that are at normal temperature, put them on their chest to see whether they feel cool or whether they feel hot. Their forehead is likely to feel cool. Their hands are likely to feel cool.
Their hands and their feet are always going to feel cool. The baby is going to, all the heat and the blood circulation is always going to the core of their body. And so babies' hands are typically very cold to the touch. So I don't want you to determine it based on that.
Yeah, definitely. And then you can always put an extra layer on if you need to, or take a layer off. So you don't have to sort of, be thinking that you've got to be whatever you start at the beginning of the night. They have to be in that all night. You can change. If they're young, your chances are you're doing diaper changes. Chances are as well, if they're really young, they're going to be having poo explosions. So you're going to be changing what they're wearing anyway.
Exactly.
And so you can check temperature then. But again, getting too hot does increase the risk of SIDS. So we want to keep that sort of comfortable temperature. Some people are going to have air conditioning. Some people are going to have their heating on to keep it at that temperature. Some people may have a fan. Fans are really good for circulating air in a room. You wouldn't want to have a fan directly on a child because that's going to be, nobody likes that. That's super uncomfortable. So just have the air circulating in the room. And then you've got the added bonus of white noise. So perfect. That's going to really help.
That's true. So it's going to give you there's two parts to it, the circulation will keep them cool. And then at the same time, there's even some speculation that SIDS is caused by accumulation of carbon dioxide around the baby. And so the circulation of the air and the circulation of carbon dioxide moving away from the baby can really, they're not sure exactly, but that could be one of the things that is contributing to the decreased risk when we use a fan in the room. So,
and that's why the sleeping on the back as well is important because we don't have that rebreathing.
Exactly.
I realize it's getting really dark here. Oh my gosh!
You need lights on like I have. I have lights on.
Yeah. Well, it's dark where you are. It was supposed to still be light here.
Because we're going into the night there, huh?
Yeah.
Two different coasts. How great is this? That we can sit here and do this together while you're on one coast and I'm on the other.
Yeah.
Just one more thing before we move on for overheating. That's another thing that I love about the Love to Dream products is that they're lightweight and they're single layer. And when you think about a blanket, a swaddle blanket, with some of them, you need to, not only is it a strangulation risk, but it's an overheating risk of having to wrap the blanket around the baby multiple times. And you don't think that if you wrap that blanket around a few times, you may be putting 3, 4, 5 layers onto the baby, which is then overheating the baby. Now, you've got an issue. So having a single layer like this that you can unzip, and then that it's just one piece here. I can't do it with my hands like this in the other direction, but it unzips from the top, trust me. Hold on a second. There we go. Okay, you've got a single layer on the baby instead of wrapping and wrapping and wrapping. Very, very important.
And some people will just, in the middle of the summer, especially here, because we don't have air conditioning, they will just put the swaddle on that swaddle and it's just one layer. For those 4 nights where it gets really hot in Seattle over the summer, you'll just do that. You won't need anything else.
I'm going to just post here. Love to Dream posting about First Candle. And
Oh, great.
everybody to go over to First Candle. It is an amazing organization that supports education regarding SIDS prevention, and they're just amazing. So everybody go check out First Candle. I think that they posted here bedtime basics. Safe sleep. Yeah. Okay. So there's some bedtime basics for everybody to check out after the show. You can go and take a look at it. But that's from First Candle. Okay, what's next here? Oh, okay, let's talk about air quality, because this is not always brought up when it comes to SIDS and safe sleeping environments. But it's not just about their physical space. It's not just about what they're wearing. It's not just about where they're sleeping. It's also what they're sleeping on, or what's in the room. And so the air quality of the room is an important, is it echoing? I hear an echo. The sound. Okay. So air quality is important. There's furniture that will off gas. There's VOCs in the room. There's mattresses that have, flame retardants and chemicals and different things in them that will actually off gas, and then the baby is breathing them in. So first of all, anything that is going to be near the baby needs to be aired out, needs to be don't just take something out of a package, but you want to actually air out. And then please, anything that is foam or mattress, those are some of the most important products to make sure are organic, that you're buying organic or toxin-free for your baby. We talked, and I think it last week we did, Nature Peak and Lovely Earth, and I'm sitting here with the Back Buddy pillow, and so many of the products that we work with and the brands that we work with, they all have these type of chemical-free foams and non-toxic ingredients, because they do off gas. So air quality is important.
Really is. And when you think as well, when your child is going to be rolling over, their face is right on that mattress, whether it's sideways or whether they're, and so often, I'm sure you saw this with your little ones, that when you lay them down, they roll over and their face is just right down on the mattress. They breathe that in. And when you think of everything that potentially could be in a mattress, the flame retardants and who knows what is in some of these mattresses, that don't necessarily put your money into the crib. You can buy the cheapest crib that there is. You want to put your money into the mattress. You really, really do. That's really, really important that you do that. So organic, you can even get non-GMO. Then you just, because you do. Even like when you get dry cleaning, you take it out of the packet. It smells, the off gas that you get, and you really want to be mindful of that.
Totally. And they don't even have to be expensive. The Lullaby Earth mattresses are really not expensive, but what you're talking about is a chemical-free, non-toxic, no flame retardants, and waterproof. And that's important too, because they do pee and puke and everything else on these mattresses, and then they can grow mold, and all kinds of other things can get inside the mattresses. You want a waterproof surface that's also non-toxic and seamless, so that nothing gets into the seams. This is a way to create that safe sleep environment. It's just another aspect of it that's really, really important. So for sure. Let's move on here to I have a comment to make about breathing monitors, because this is one of those products. We've talked a little bit about different important products that are great to help with safe sleeping, like the right swaddle blankets, like the right mattresses, and then avoiding certain other products to keep your baby safe. And so we do get questions about mattresses that check breathing and movement, and then monitors and things like that you can put on the baby's foot. There's all kinds of things out there. I'm not a big advocate of those things, because it really does make a mom or dad more anxious, is what I find. And unless the baby is, coming home from a NICU and they're sent home on an apnea monitor and there's a reason for it, then yes, that's a different story. We're not talking about that. We're talking about just, anxiety. And so you get these machines, or you get this monitor so that you think you can now put the baby down the hall. Okay, it's a false sense of security, and it's really not the way to go. Would you?
Yeah, I completely agree. I completely agree. It can give you more anxiety than you already had. Remember, if you're room sharing for the first 6 to 12 months, you know they're right there. And remember, that reduces the risk of SIDS. This monitor does not reduce the risk of SIDS. It really doesn't. And they can't sort of say that they do because they don't. But we know that room sharing does. So, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of them. Again, if the child needs to have it, then they will be given something from the hospital.
Yep.
And you wouldn't need to purchase one. And as well, they're crazy expensive.
Yep, absolutely. And then last but not least, if you're impaired, if you've been drinking, and also smoke free. I want to say too, a smoke free environment is really, really important. And it's not just about mom smoking, but anybody smoking around the baby, in the house. The house should be a smoke free place. And even clothing that smells like smoke.
Mm-hmm. So even if you have granddad comes round and he goes outside to smoke and then comes in and picks up the baby, he's breathing. When you're a non-smoker, you can smell when somebody's been and smoked. You can smell it,
right?
Because you can just smell it on their breath and everything. And so that's going straight. The smoke can be it's going to be really bad. It really, really is. So yeah, you want to avoid that. You want to avoid, smoking near your child or having somebody who has smoked near your child. You want to avoid smoking throughout pregnancy as well. Stopping smoking during pregnancy reduces the risk of SIDS as well. And then with that being impaired, if you've been drinking any alcohol and you're feeling even that little bit tipsy, then you would not want to be sleeping next to your child. Meaning that, yes, if they're on a separate surface, you're fine. But you would not want to bed share with your child if you're feeling a little bit tipsy, if you are taking any drugs that could make you feel sleepy. And so that as well. So that could even be like an antidepressant, which you may think would be completely fine to take and has been fine for you to take whilst you're breastfeeding and all of these things. It can affect the way that you sleep. Now, it may mean that you're awake all night, but it may mean that you're actually feeling more sleepy. And so until you know what that is going to do to you, you would not want to bed share. And then again, with drugs, obviously, you don't want to be bed sharing if you've been doing any recreational drugs.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, fantastic. I think we're at the end here, but I just want to, again, one more time announce how to win the prizes, because we have amazing 2 winners tonight of Love to Dream products. You get your choice, and you just need to like or love this post. Please comment here, which I see you've all been doing. I've been reading. I get distracted reading all your comments. Amazing comments here about Love to Dream and why you love the product and why you need it, how it'll change your life and your baby and everything, because it will. And if you don't win, you need to get one anyway. And then also make sure that you register at the link. It's mybabyexperts.com/FB Live. And Joe had posted it here. It's also in the comment here. When we end the show, you can take a look, make sure you registered. Also, please go over, like the Love to Dream page, give them some love, and also Rebecca too. Make sure you follow Rebecca. Rebecca, thank you so much for joining me tonight. It was fantastic, as always, as usual.
You're so welcome. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, fantastic. And everybody, tonight, good night, and Love to Dream. Love you, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks for the night. What a great night. Yay. Bye, everyone.